Tigers of Bronx, Bulls, and Bays. For tickets and information, call 352-402-8808. September 4th and 5th. Don't miss the Ocala Shrine Rodeo.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, 5 minutes after 9 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in to WOCA this Monday morning. Nice looking Monday. Don't forget, we do have the remnants of Hurricane Erica, Tropical Storm Erica. We have the remnants. There is no more hurricane nor tropical storm, but the remnants are heading our way. And what that means basically is just rain. So, and actually, if you're out on the water, it's very wavy out there from what I understand. So, I mean, right now it looks beautiful here, but I guess that stuff is on its way. All right, before we do anything, I have to thank Dr. Thomas L. Crowley. The Central Florida Eye Institute is sponsoring this segment of AM Ocala Live. Over at Central Florida Eye Institute, you can have all of your eye care needs taken care of, whether it's something as basic as getting your eyes examined for eyeglasses, or something as complex as retinal surgery, or diabetic eye treatments, or cosmetic procedures even, glaucoma treatments, LASIK surgery. They cover it all at Central Florida Eye Institute. They are not too far from where we broadcast. They're not too far from the Paddock Mall. They're in the office complex adjacent to the mall on the Sears side of the mall. Their address is 3133 Southwest 32nd Avenue. Their phone number is 237-8400. And their website is centralfloridaeye.com. So go to Central Florida Eye Institute. Thank Dr. Thomas L. Crowley for sponsoring this portion of AM Ocala Live. All right, I was reading an article. I can't remember what day it was. But I found out about a lady, and we're going to meet her right now. And she spent 2 years doing something. I can't wait to hear about this. When you think about Jesus, when you think about your religion, you think of in spiritual terms. And I think one of the gifts that Jesus brings to us as believers is the fact that he lived a life like us. You know, I mean, he was in the physical body. He understood what it felt like to have your feet on the ground and to have the sun in your face and the trials and tribulations of being a human being. And Bobbie Ann Cole is a Messianic Jew, it says in my notes here. She spent 2 years in Israel searching for signs of Jesus' influence on Israel today. Interesting, and I'm looking forward to it. She's written a book about it. It's called Love Triangles, Discovering Jesus the Jew in Today's Israel. It is her memoir, and she's on the phone. Good morning, Bobbie Ann Cole. Good morning, Bobbie. Do I call you
Hi, Larry.
Hi. Do I call you Bobbie or Bobbie Ann?
I'm usually Bobbie. I have to be Bobbie Ann Cole because there's another author called Bobbie Cole, and she writes erotic fiction.
Oh, really? Well, all right. Well, that I could probably go back and forth. And see, I'm this way. I'm religious one moment, and then I'm just a human the next one. So yeah, I go back and forth. Where are you right now?
I'm in New Brunswick, Canada, and it's a beautiful day here.
Oh, is it? Wow. And your accent, where are you from originally?
Yes, originally I'm from the UK.
Oh, my goodness. So you must have some interesting things beyond what's in the book.
There was a prequel, if you like, to Love Triangles, which was my coming to faith story, and that was called She Does Not Fear the Snow.
Oh, cool.
It was a little bit of a lie, really, because I met a Canadian, and I came to faith, and God blessed me. It's a bit like a Ruth story. He blessed me with a new husband of faith, and he brought me to live in Canada. And so the title "She Does Not Fear the Snow" comes from Proverbs 31. It's one of the qualities of a good woman, and it's a little bit of a fib, really. I do really fear the snow.
You do fear the snow, yeah. Yeah. It sounds like you're a down-to-earth lady who's, thinking in terms of the bigger picture and trying to figure all of this stuff we call life out. I often think that not that I know, but I mean, when I think, what is the purpose of life? I think the whole purpose of life is to have faith. It's a hard lesson to learn because you could have faith right now, and then as soon as you're in a hard time, you're doubting God and doubting that God can help you out of a mess.
Well, I was very blessed to have a very powerful experience, which was also in Israel. That was in Jerusalem. That was in 2007, and I ended up in a church. I'd gone to Israel because I'd had cancer, my marriage had broken up, my business had failed. I was in a very bad place, and a Christian friend of mine from Canada said, she actually called me a stinker, and the next thing I knew, she was coming with me. And so she very graciously came to synagogue with me in Jerusalem on the Friday night. And I just could not say no to going to church with her. That would have been very ungracious. So on the Sunday night, I had a very unexpected and very powerful Holy Spirit experience, what I now know is a Holy Spirit experience. And that began everything that took me down the road to what is Messianic Judaism.
Can you help us understand what you experienced? Did you see something, hear something? What was it? What happened?
It was a just wonderful feeling of being... there was the singing and there was the preaching, and it was just so unexpected that I was feeling an electricity coursing through me like an energy, and at the same time it was like leaning back into a warm bath, and it was just lovely. I just wanted to stay there. I didn't want to go. They invited us up to the 24/7 prayer tower, and sitting there sort of dazed at the end of the service, I was feeling, I'm hoping my friend will want to go. And before I had been hoping that perhaps it would turn out that we wouldn't go at all, that we wouldn't come to the service at all.
Mm-hmm.
And she's actually flicking through some pictures and that she took as we came into the service. And the pictures are not showing the auditorium that she'd snapped or anything like it. She'd gone in, immediately we arrived in the church, in the congregation, she'd started snapping pictures saying, "This is for my brother Butch, he'd love it here. This is for my brother Butch, he'd love it here." And I was horrified because you wouldn't do that in a synagogue. And she's flicking through these pictures, and they are actually showing tongues of golden flame. It was as if her pictures were showing what I was feeling.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So, yes. So, long story short, these pictures that she investigated led to me actually coming to Canada to see more of a rug that seemed to depict herself and myself. An old Persian rug that was now in her possession, that had been the result of her inquiries. And I met her brother Butch and came home from a cup of tea meeting to say, I want to marry this man.
Oh, really? And you did?
I can assure you that after having had cancer, I didn't have a very good body image. And I'd been very broken when I first went to Israel. I hadn't expected to be dating. I hadn't expected to fall in love. I hadn't expected to ever meet anybody.
So now Butch is your husband?
Yes, he is. And he and I, a year after we married a year after we met, and then a year after that we went to live in Israel.
So did you have to have a mastectomy for your cancer?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Oh, okay. And that's so. See, Robin got it right away. As a woman, she knew what you meant by body image.
Yes.
It just went over my head. Now I get it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, good for you. That's a beautiful story, isn't it?
Yes. Yes. It's very much like Ruth, isn't it? She comes into the land, declares her faith, and Ruth in the Bible. She declares her faith, and she's blessed with a new husband of faith.
Yeah, because nobody liked her when she came to that land with her girlfriend, because nobody wanted to accept her.
It was actually her mother-in-law.
Oh, the mother-in-law, that was it. Okay,
yes.
I couldn't exactly remember who the other woman was.
Who does not stop from grumbling that that there's no future for them. She's very, very pessimistic, and Ruth is very quiet.
Do you know, a lot of times Christians don't realize how close we are to Jewish faith. It's so close. It's sometimes if you forget. I have so many times a Christian will say to me, "I'm a Christian. I believe in the Ten Commandments," and I'll say, "Well, the Ten Commandments are actually in the Bible of the Jewish people, the one we call the Old Testament." And but quite often people do that. I'm a Christian. I believe in the Ten Commandments. You know. It's our heritage is your heritage, and as a Messianic Jew, it's kind of the same thing. So I want to hear about the time in Israel. We have to take a little break, and we'll be right back. Don't you hate when you have a good interview and you have to take a break?
Yeah, I do.
Just the way it is. All right, we will take a little break right now. Bobbie Ann Cole is on the phone with us. Love Triangles, Discovering Jesus, the Jew in Today's Israel. It's her memoir. She spent 2 years in Israel searching for signs of Jesus' influence on Israel today. Can't wait to hear the rest of this. Bobbie Ann Cole when we come back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. A flood watch is in effect through 8 p.m. this evening. Mostly cloudy today and tonight with some showers and thunderstorms around. There could be some flooding downpours. The high today 85 to 89. Tonight's low 72 to 76. Clouds and some intervals of sun tomorrow with a couple of showers and thunderstorms, especially in the afternoon. The high 88 to 92. For Wednesday, variable cloudiness with a couple of showers and thunderstorms. High 88 to 92. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm Joe Lundberg.
Who doesn't love heading out on the boat with a family, hitting the ATV trails with friends, or blazing new stretches of highway with riding buddies? Your toys are your ticket to outdoor fun. At the McDonald Allstate Agency, we get to know you and help make sure you have all the right coverages. Plus, when you bundle your coverage for your car and your home with your boat, motorcycle, RV, or more, you can save up to 30%. So call the McDonald Allstate Agency today at 622-2333 or stop by one of our 2 Ocala locations at Calla Hills or the Jasmine Square Plaza.
Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Savings vary.
Hi, this is Brad. I want to take a moment to talk about a serious issue. In the next 5 years, the aviation industry is projected to have a shortage of commercial pilots. Now is the time to start training. Ocala Flying Club has started a scholarship for the youth of Marion County ages 17 to 24. The club will donate up to $4,000 towards a pilot's license. This will help get the student on their way to obtaining their commercial pilot license. If this sounds like something you would be interested in, or if you know someone that would be, please contact Ocala Aviation Services, 861-7484.
Robin, let's try a little plant trivia. Name this nursery. It's a not-for-profit, and it teaches growing and caring for plants to their students.
Oh, that's easy. Kenny's Place.
Or how about this one? It's a nursery conveniently located between Ocala and Bellevue.
Again, it's Kenny's Place.
Or how about this one? A nursery with a wide variety of just what you need or want at the most reasonable prices.
Kenny's Place, of course.
Kenny's Place at 7677 Southeast 41st Court. Give them a call at 867-1213. It's a caring place for people and plants. It's Kenny's Place. 17 minutes after 9 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this Monday morning. Bobbie Ann Cole is on the phone up in Canada, where it's beautiful right now and soon to be snowy, and she's not afraid of the snow. A little bit afraid. She's written a book called Love Triangles, if you're just tuning in. She is a Messianic Jew. She spent 2 years in Israel searching for signs of Jesus' influence on Israel today. So the first time you ever went to Israel, what was the story behind going in the first place?
The first time, I was actually much younger when the first time that I went to Israel. But when my husband and I went in 2009, we had no expectation of actually staying there. We thought we were just going to volunteer for a few months and wait for the house that I had from the UK to come free because it had been rented. It was under a rental contract. So it was a very practical thing that we were doing. We weren't sort of saying to ourselves, we have to go and live in Israel. But when we got there, it was my husband, who's a Christian, who really, really wanted to stay.
Wow.
And so did you look specifically for things, or did you stumble upon things that made the connection for you? Do you know when you talk about not that you are talking about artifacts specifically, but artifacts have been found in recent years that, some archaeologists speculate were, significant in early Christianity, and I guess in kind of confirming the physical presence of Jesus.
Well, yes, very recently they've actually decided that in Nazareth, one of that there is probably the remains of Jesus' house, the house where he grew up. And it's very interesting to look at to look at it because it's sort of it's in ruin, yes, but you can get a picture of how it was, and it's sort of part cave. It's built into the cliffside. It's very intriguing.
Do you know in the Bible there's a story, and I'm horrible at telling Bible stories because I know them, I get them, but I can't really recite them very well. But there's a story about a woman who touches Jesus and she gets healed, or touches his garment and she gets healed. He knows somebody touched her. He felt whatever healing power leaves him or something like that. And I've often thought that the lesson from that is that faith is what healed her. Her faith healed her. And if faith is what we're supposed to learn how to be stronger in, and physical things help us with that, well, that's because of who we are. That's the way we're made. We're made physical. And so if you go to the places where Jesus walked, I'm guessing, because I've never been there, that maybe you feel something just by being in the same place. Or like there's a tree over there, like a 2,000-year-old tree. So you would say, well, he probably walked by this tree and touched this tree.
Yeah. It was probably an olive tree as well, because they're so beautiful.
So did you have that feeling that you were...
Oh, yes, absolutely. Right from the very first time, even before when my faith didn't really mean that much to me. In the 80s, the very first time that I went to Israel, I just was struck by this feeling of privilege, because the atmosphere was so very special. It seemed as if you could hear God breathing on the breeze. It was so powerful, and that's why I went running back there when I was broken. And when we lived there, I was feeling that constantly, and I was feeling that in every biblical landscape, which, they say sometimes that the landscape of the Bible is like a fifth gospel, and I absolutely agree with that. You can go to places where Jesus was, particularly the Sea of Galilee does it for me. It's so very beautiful, and there's all these different kinds of blues intermingling. And you can feel Jesus, you can see him walking on the water, you can see him standing in the boat and preaching to crowds. But there's also, we lived in Haifa, which is a very sort of pragmatic type of place to live, and I would go for a walk in Haifa, and I would go past the remains of terraces where crops would grow, and I didn't know whether they were from 100 years or 2,000 years ago, but I could feel the specialness of the whole place in the everyday.
And in the Bible somewhere it says 1,000 years is the blink of an eye or something like that to God. So I mean, so you're there 2,000 years after the fact, but in God's eyes, it's like it was a blink of an eye ago or two blinks.
Came to life for me, and I think it does for other people too, as I went to all the different places in the land. Jerusalem, of course, you can go through the old city in Jerusalem, and particularly by the Damascus Gate, where they have a market that's all different colors of fruit and vegetables, and all different scents and of baklava cooking and falafel cooking, and you really get a sense of being in biblical times.
Do Messianic Jews have to keep their identities, their belief a secret?
Well, I did. I was creeping around very furtively, not wanting people to know, because on the one hand, you might find yourself rejected by individuals, because for thousands of years, well, since Jesus' time, it's been a no-no for Jews to believe. That in the early Jewish believers in Acts were just thrown out of the synagogues. And but also the state of Israel does not accept Jewish believers. I got in under the radar, and there are many of us who have either been Israeli born or got in under the radar. But if anybody who's coming out with the fact that they believe in Jesus is no longer accepted as a Jew and will not be accepted under the law of return.
So I guess this is more of a religious question than anything else, but here's why I don't understand that, or maybe I do. Everything Jesus taught, he was a rabbi, so everything he taught was supported by what was already written in the scriptures of his day. In other words, nothing that we read today about Jesus was written yet. So he was teaching from what was already written.
Absolutely.
The big difference is that he died, rose from the dead, and forgave our sins with that death. That's really the only part of the story that may be debated among Jewish scholars, the non-believing Jewish, the Jewish scholars who don't believe in Jesus. But the rest of his teachings, you would think that they would go along with, because he was teaching the same thing they basically were, right?
Well, the Pharisees believed actually in the resurrection, so it shouldn't have been such a big leap for them. We hear about the Pharisees in the Gospels. and that it shouldn't have been such a big leap for them to believe that the Messiah had been resurrected. Their problem was that they didn't accept Jesus as the Messiah because they had this whole image of some warrior king who was going to get rid of the Roman occupation for them.
And so, but you also delve into the fact that Jesus himself had a bar mitzvah.
Well, I believe he had a bar mitzvah. It doesn't say so blatantly in the Bible, but to me it's pretty obvious. At 12 years old, he went to
makes
Jerusalem.
Sense. Yeah.
He went to Jerusalem, and he ends up in joining what I consider to be a yeshiva, which is a Jewish study group. I think he impressed the elders in the temple there, and they invited him to join a yeshiva. And I believe that at that time he was still trying to understand who he really was, or how it was going to be. He knew he was to be the high priest. So how do you become the high priest? Well, you join a yeshiva and you go up through the priestly ranks. That's, I think, what he thought as a 12-year-old boy. And when his mother and father said, well, his mother said, son, what are you doing? You're supposed to come home with us. Your father and I have been really worried about you. He realized that he had to obey the commandment to honor his father and his mother, and that his ministry was going to take a different form. He was going to be the high priest in a different way.
Wow, that's so interesting. I can't wait to read the book. It's called Love Triangles. Where's the title come from?
Well, on the cover is the shield, is the Star of David, which is a pair of triangles. But it's also the fact that I love Israel and I love Jesus, and Jesus loved Israel, but Israel doesn't love either of us.
Oh wow! Oh wow! Yeah, it's true. So you're not accepted as a Jew who believes in Jesus. Would I be accepted as a Christian who never has been a Jew?
Well, under the law of return, you wouldn't qualify for residency or to immigrate.
Oh, okay.
That's the difference.
You also talk about the Jewish festivals. I mean, how was Jesus accepted there to get his message out?
Well, obviously, he died at Passover, which was a very big, one of the biggest Jewish festivals, and he died at the very moment that they were slaughtering lambs in the temple. And what is intriguing is that we read in the Gospels that darkness came upon the land for about three hours before his death. So I'm wondering what was going on with the slaughtering of the lambs in the temple, with all the priests and all the people bringing their individual lambs that they were going to take home to have basically a barbecue that evening, to celebrate Passover, to celebrate the Exodus and the taking out of the slaves by Moses from Egypt. And meanwhile, Jesus is struggling on the cross, and all this is going on in darkness. So did they light lights? And then there's an earthquake. How extensive was the damage of the earthquake? Were they able still to have their meal, or were they picking over rubble? And it's just really, really intriguing to examine what we have as evidence and to speculate on what it actually might have looked like.
Wow.
Bobbie Ann Cole is our guest. We've got about a minute left, and we do have a phone call.
All right. I just want to say one thing. It's free on Kindle this weekend.
It's free?
Amazon.
Wow.
On Kindle, yes, this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Is that right? Okay. Can I ask you, would you take a call real quickly from a listener?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning. Thank you for calling and for waiting. You're on there with Bobbie Ann Cole.
Hello.
This is all fascinating, and I've always been interested in this. And I have some very close Jewish friends who said that they believe that Jesus was a great peacemaker before his time. They just don't happen to think that he had been resurrected. And it's my understanding that he had to have been bar mitzvahed in order to be a rabbi. So he was raised in the Jewish faith, but that he taught things that were, in fact, they actually called him an atheist because he was going against the theism of the day. And he believed in not a powerful, punishing God, but a peaceful, loving God. And the traditions of washing before eating and dining with poverty people and everything like that was his big thing. And that's what outcasted him more than anything at first. Is that what you understand?
Bobbie?
Oh, yes, and he came to fulfill the law and not to destroy it.
I love this conversation. Thank you for the call. And Bobbie Ann Cole, thank you for taking some time out of your day to talk to us. The book is called Love Triangles. Get it on Amazon. And if you have a Kindle, you can get it for free. And
just at the weekend.
This weekend. This weekend, yeah. I can't wait to read it. Bobbie, thank you so much for being on the air with us today. Good interview. I love it. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back.
God bless. Bye.
Fox News Radio, I'm Pat O'Neill. Climate change the focus as President Obama heads to Alaska. To show solidarity with the natives, the White House is renaming Mount McKinley.
The mountain's new moniker will be Denali. The name McKinley's been a sore spot for Native Alaskans who had used the name Denali for centuries until a prospector came along in 1896 who had heard that William McKinley had been nominated as a candidate for president.
Fox Radio's Jill Nato. Some lawmakers in Ohio, McKinley State, opposed the name change. A memorial service yesterday for Virginia TV reporter Allison Parker and cameraman Adam Ward, killed last week by a former colleague.
I want to play softball with Adam again, and I want to see Allison dance. And I will, in the wonderful memories they gave me, they gave us.
WDBJ General Manager Jeff Marks, the man charged in the killing of a deputy sheriff at a